folks, welcome to another Top 10. Nope, this ain't a Top 10.
Bottom 5 of the top 10.
It is a bottom 5 of the top 10. Now, let me explain this to you, because we keep getting people commenting, it's such a confusing title to the video. I thought this was going to be the worst 5 games of 20 blah, 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 blah. Okay, here it is. We record a top 10. We put the bottom half of that top 10 right here on the Dice Tower on Fridays. Then,
It's pretty
guess
close.
what? We do the top 5 of that same top 10 on the flip side on Mondays. And you can go and click the link that's going to be in the bottom of this video as soon as it's put up on Mondays. So, this is the bottom 5 games from 2011. That means it's numbers 10 through 6.
We could call it the second top 5. That wouldn't confuse anybody.
No.
I'm just kidding.
It's like second breakfast. Anyway, 2011, what did you think?
You know, there's a lot of games in 2011. I recognized a lot more games than the other ones. There was a boatload of them. And there were a lot of them that I would like to play, actually.
I actually wrote down some things to remember as I was going through. Did you realize that Carcassonne, at this point, was 10 years old?
Yep, I had that 10-year anniversary version.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
It had it was like a little blue meeple.
Yeah, it's a blue
And
meeple.
it had
Yeah.
clear.
Wasn't it a 10?
Yeah, it was a 10.
You got rid of that 10.
10 years. Huh?
10? No, 10. It was a metal 10, wasn't it?
No.
It was a box?
It was a box, I
I
think.
thought it was a 10.
I think it was a box.
They had a game come out in 2011 called Yorkieopoly.
They had some games come out in all these years that you can't say on TV. You cannot say on even cable.
There were 3 Madeline games that came out in 2011.
What are Madeline?
The kids' book, Madeline.
Oh. Well,
There were 3 games that came out about Madeline.
That's funny you say that because I think Ticket to Ride Roll, Apples to Apples Dice Game. There were like 4 dice games that came out of all the different like games you played.
Yeah.
Like I don't remember if it was Life Dice. What other ones were out there? There's Apples to Apples Dice Game. There was there was several, and they all came in these cans that looked like different dice games.
There were 2 games that are currently in the BGG Top 20 from 2011. 2 games. You know what they are?
No, not off the top of my head.
Just take a wild guess.
Castles of Burgundy and
Yes.
Puerto Rico.
No. Castles of Burgundy, yes.
I don't think I have.
War
of the Ring.
Yes.
But I haven't played that one.
War of the Ring, that's correct.
Yep.
Those 2. And then, this is something that I kind of just pay attention to. When I do my game list, I always click the rank. So I get the highest rank ones up top.
Oh, yeah?
And then it goes
Just
all
the way
through. NA, not applicable because the game hasn't been ranked, didn't show up until page 8.
Oh, look at that.
So there were
pretty good.
over 700 ranked games from 2011. That's pretty
that sounds
cool.
about right. There were 42 in the top 1,000 because we've been checking
Wow.
how many are in the top 1,000 every year.
Yeah.
I think one of the other years it was 36, maybe for 2008 or 9.
Right.
This one was the highest so far with 42. And
Wow.
most of those I knew,
That's
or
pretty
at least
cool.
I've seen or heard
Yeah.
of.
Right. All right. Well, there you have it. Looks like it's going to turn out to be a good couple of lists.
I think it's funny you say that. 'Cause you're not going to like my list. No, most of my list is pretty good.
I don't know. You may or may not like my list. I don't know. We'll see. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get to it. Our bottom 5 from our top 10 games from 2011. Numbers 10 through 6.
Exactly.
Let's hit it. All right, my number 10 is that game that we were talking about. It's a dice game, but it's not any of those games that were like, apples to apples, the dice game or whatever. This is called Vocabulary. FAUX dash Cabulary. Vocabulary.
Yeah, okay.
It's from Out of the Box
make stuff
Games.
up.
And that's exactly what it is. You have a bunch of dice that have different parts of words on them.
Huh?
and then you get a thing that you have to come up with a word for.
Oh.
And you roll these dice, and you can put them in whatever order you want to, and that's the word that you're making up for whatever this thing is that you're out there. That whatever the category is.
Category you got to fill in.
Yeah, and you gotta. What's the word that is that thing that's out there right now? I just really enjoy this game. It's stupid fun, but it's really fun.
It would be pretty funny.
I really enjoyed it, and you can come up with some hilarious combinations as well. So I just think it was really fun. That's why it made my number 10. It just squeaked in there. I'm usually not that kind of I'm not really a word game kind of guy. But this one was stupid fun. It was really fun. Vocabulary from out-of-the-box games.
Nice. As long as you can't look it up in the dictionary, that might be a fun game.
I don't think any of those words are in the dictionary.
Fair enough. All right. My number 10 on here is technically an honorable mention because, it made number 10 just because of how much I played it with my family.
Oh.
And yeah, it just hit.
So it's your honorary number 10?
It's a number 10, but it deserves to be here just because of how much we played it.
Okay.
How much fun we had doing it.
All right.
That's called Kittens in a Blender. Have you played Kittens in a Blender?
No.
So you get a colored card. So you have a stack of all these different colored kittens, and there's Blender cards in there. And you put one box over here. The box is safe. That's where you want your kittens to end up in the box. You get points for that.
Or do
and then
you?
Then there's a table area in the middle, and then there's a blender area over here. On your turn, all you get to do is play 2 cards. So if I have red kittens, I'll put a red kitten in the box and a blue kitten in the blender.
Poor blue kitten.
Now, sooner or later, somebody's going to play a blender card, and you really want to play a blender card when you have the fewest kittens in there because you're chewing up everybody else's kittens, and mostly you only sacrificed 1 or 2, right? But you're trying to get towards by the end of the game, however many blender cards come out, the most points in the safe zone, and you have cards that can move them back and forth. So
you don't have
the kittens.
You don't have blended kitties cards or anything like that. They're
just
they're done.
There's little cute kittens. Now, when they get blended, those cards go away.
Those cards
but it's
go
called
away.
Kittens in a Blender.
Why do the cards go away, Papa?
We had to eat something, son. We had to eat something. So my number 10.
Where'd you think you got the protein shakes
Kittens
from?
in a Blender.
Kittens in a blender. My goodness, I'm thinking that Tom would probably approve of this game.
It's a fun game.
At least by theme alone.
Yep.
My number 9 is a game that got put out by Hasbro. And it is a legacy version of a game called Risk. It's called Risk Legacy. And I have to admit, at this point, I think I was done playing Risk.
Sure.
But when Risk Legacy came out, I was like, oh, now that is interesting. Because you can, literally change the landscape of your Risk board.
That's cool.
Through this Legacy game. And it's one of the first Legacy games that we played, and I just remember loving it. I have a copy of Risk Legacy right here that has not been opened.
That's unplayed?
It's unplayed. So if you're
hilarious.
Interested, we can do it.
All right, let's put it on the list. We need
Risk
a big whiteboard
Legacy.
with all the games we're supposed to play.
Just right here. We would need a bigger board than that wall, probably. But I still have an unplayed copy. The copy that I played was the one that we got in for the Dice Tower, and Tom and I played it. And we played it with a bunch of high school students as well.
Slackers. Oh, wait.
And it was really fun. It was just an enjoyable experience. It was really... There were some rule changes. Like if you're well-versed in playing Risk, there were a couple of rule changes that kind of rubbed you raw.
Hurt your brain?
Yeah, but
that's funny.
It was still fun. So that's why it's my number 9, Risk Legacy.
All right. My number 9 is probably my lowest rated, not the world's lowest rated Stefan Feld game. And I still will play it, but it's not my favorite for sure. And that's the one you were talking about a moment ago, Castles of Burgundy. I'm not a huge fan of Castles of Burgundy. Mostly maybe because of the original aesthetic and this ugly board you got with all of your dice on it. I know there's 7 different beautiful versions now. You can buy the $300 version with towers and castles and things. But
wasn't it Awakened Realms that did that one? Or I know it was on GameFound. I don't know if it was.
The new one. I don't know.
No, the new one.
Yeah, I
that
don't
just
know.
like totally pimped out
That's just
and
a
like
skip.
super.
That's a skip for me.
Yeah. Really?
But yeah,
Yeah.
I'm just not a huge Castles of Burgundy fan. Just the whole restriction of rolling 2 dice and getting stuck with what you get. Sometimes I don't know.
Yeah.
It's too long. I guess maybe that's it. It's too long for what it is.
Sure.
Like it feels like it should be a shorter, smaller game.
It's a beautiful game, though, man. The new one,
The new one, yeah, they're pretty.
man alive,
I
so
can't,
pretty.
and it had to get on the list, obviously, or people would probably strangle me. They're going to strangle you anyways. But anyways, Castles of Burgundy is my number 9.
That's a good pick.
It made the list.
Yep, that's a good pick. This was actually on one of the people had this on their top 5 games we've never played for no good reason. And if I'm not mistaken, they actually said, I own this game, and I own multiple copies or versions of this game, and I still haven't played it. All right, my number 8. My number 8 is a game that was put out by Fantasy Flight Games, and it is a deduction game called Letters from Whitechapel.
Oh.
And now, I do have to say this. If you want to play this game with a pad and pencil, taking note of all of the various places that you think all the people can be,
Yeah.
this is nowhere near my top 10, if that's how you want to play this game.
Oh.
Because I have
You want to play it a little looser.
I want to play it loose and fun.
Fair.
And
You don't want to be taking notes
free.
with
Don't be taking notes with your legal pad while you play Letters from Whitechapel. Please don't do that.
get out your little clue sheet.
Oh my goodness. Please, please, please don't do that. Let's have fun. Let's not try to solve centuries-old murders.
That's most games.
Because that's just, it's a game, so let's play a game. And I get that some things are fun for some people and yada, 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 but that's just not fun. If that's how this game is played, nowhere close to being on my list. But if we're just going to play, have fun, get into the theme a little bit, this is a great little deduction game.
Nice.
So that's why it made my list. Letters from Whitechapel, my number 8.
Very cool. Haven't played it. I only want to play it one version, and that's the version without the legal pad. All right. My number 8 is a little game, another little ugly game. I think there might have been a lot of ugly games in 2011. Fun games, but ugly games. And that's a game called Puerto Rico. There's probably a newer, beautiful, more beautiful version, but
There's going to be this year.
but anyways, the old version was pretty ugly.
was.
But the cool thing about Puerto Rico is, and really the draw of the game, you're just, I don't know if you're a plantation farm. You're farmers. You're running a plantation, right? You're building your spots so that you can grow crops, so you can sell crops or ship crops. All this kind of stuff. That's kind of the meat and potatoes. But the coolest thing is to play it. It's like one of those games. I was going to say like Mission Red Planet. It's not like that, but it has all the different cards that are the different people have different actions. And the cool thing is. If it's my turn, I take one of those cards. The cards are in the middle. They're not. You don't have your own hand. I take one of those cards. I do my action. I get a little bit extra maybe, and then everybody else does that action.
Yeah.
And then it goes around. So there's I think 7 or 8 in the middle. And so if you got 3 or 4 players, you're only going to take 3 or 4 of those. So you really have to maximize. The nice thing about being first is you get to pick what you really need to do right now. But the nice thing about being last is you see what everybody else has done, and now you can maximize kind of, how that goes. So it's just a really cool mechanic that actually I'd like to see in other games.
I remember back in the day, people talking about how they would complain where they were sitting at the table.
Oh, yeah, I can imagine.
Based on that, and I was like, dude, just play the game.
Yeah, because this knucklehead always picks the one I don't want, right? It's the truth. I can imagine. That's 100%. I want to sit there, behind you instead of in front of you. Or
Puerto Rico is nowhere on my list.
Yep.
I'll just go ahead and say that right now, although I do see the classic nature of it. It is a classic game in the board gaming hobby. And I will also say this, even though it's not my top 10, I'm super thinking about backing the new version because
cards with circles and discs.
Awakened Realms is doing it, dude.
Wow.
They're doing Awaken Realms is doing Puerto Rico, and they're going to Awaken Realm it.
Okay. Well, I expect giant Viking miniatures. Maybe some, yeah.
Puerto Rican Vikings.
That's right.
I don't know if that works out right. All right, my number 7 is from a company called Indie Boards and Cards. And this one has a theme that is near and dear to my heart. My grandpa was a firefighter in San Antonio for, I want to say, 30 years. And he is still kicking it, doing the, nice. He's retired now, but he's doing the museum. He runs.
Oh, that's cool.
He works at the Firefighters Museum in San Antonio. Nice. This is called Flashpoint Fire Rescue. Now, I don't feel like it was all the rage that everybody said it was, but I still enjoyed the game. And that's pretty much why it's on the bottom half of my list and not on the top half of my list.
Fair.
I was drawn to the game because of its theme. Huge respect for firefighters, and some of the mechanisms were a little wonky for me, and I didn't like the component quality of the game. And those were really kind of my biggest issues with it. But I still enjoyed the game. I think it was still fun. But everybody around me enjoyed it a lot more than I did.
Yeah.
So back in the day, I probably looked like I didn't like the game very much.
Yeah, well, obviously firefighters are pretty awesome, but
they are.
It's not a theme of a board game that I would be.
No, that's
for me
true.
Either.
Well, I mean,
you're
you're basically just trying to go into a building that's on fire, and you're trying to put out those things, get everybody out, and I think it's a pretty cool thing. But that's my number 7, Flashpoint Fire Rescue.
Save the kids first, animals second,
then the structure.
Well, then the grown-ups, I think.
No.
Well, my number 7 is a card game that, well, I don't know. I want to say it's the predecessor of Marvel Champions, but it's technically not. I don't know how it fits in that, but for some reason, like mentally, I kind of connect them together. And that's from Greater Than Games, called Sentinels of the Multiverse. Sentinels of the Multiverse is a very fun game. You get a deck of cards. You're fighting against a bad guy, and I think you're fighting with the other deck is the location you're in or whatnot. But you're playing, and some of it is very thematic, what your characters can do and stuff like that. It's not as refined or as mechanically sound as Marvel Champions is. But it was still a fun game, and it was still, you kind of got the feeling of what character you were playing while you were playing them. At least I felt that way.
I did not like this game at all.
No?
Mm.
What?
You know how like other countries like mimic Hollywood?
Yeah.
This feels like the Bollywood version of Marvel Avengers.
Absolutely.
And that's why I didn't like it.
Yeah,
I was just why can't you just... Now, look, I know IPs are expensive. I get it. Why couldn't you just go get the IP? Because it's expensive. That's why. But that's why I just couldn't wrap my head around it. I just didn't like it.
I don't know how they got away with saying multiverse. No, I'm just kidding. Somebody owns the multiverse. You know that, right?
Yes.
No,
Doctor Strange does.
Yeah, Doctor Strange does. No, I thought it was a pretty fun game, and it's pretty simple overall. Playing card, drawing a card, using a power, whatever else,
I've got that game over there called Kapow. It gives me the same similar vibe, but I like the fact that it's like modular dice.
Oh.
So I'm looking
What do you mean modular dice?
You can actually change the sides of the dice.
Oh. That could be good or bad.
You pop them out.
Break a few thumbnails off. But
I think it actually comes with a tool.
It probably does. All right. Well, my number 7, Sentinels of the Multiverse. I got 1 thumbs up and 1 thumbs down.
All right.
Last one on this list.
Last one. Now, this one's by Matago, and this one I was drawn to the title because one of my favorite wrestlers back in the day, back when I was following professional wrestlers, was The Ultimate Warrior. I loved watching The Ultimate Warrior. And so I was like, ooh, is this a wrestling game? And it isn't. But it kind of is because it happens in a ring. It's called Ultimate Warriors with a Z.
Rock sock 'em.
And no, it's not that. But it does have one of the cool things about the game is that the box actually becomes part of the board. Mm-hmm. And I like games that do that. I just think it's a neat little gimmicky type thing that they do, but I like it. But on top of one of the things that kind of rubs me the wrong way about it, though, is that because it's part of the thing, you have to set it down, and it's upside down when you're storing it. So if you put the box so that the top of the box is facing up, on the outside everything's upside down, because you're supposed to take the box and put it over like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It's one of those things. But anyway, it's a really cool thing. It's got a fantasy theme to it where you have all these different fantasy things that are fighting each other's orcs and fighters and dragons and all this other kind of stuff. And it's basically kind of like a King of Tokyo type of game, but you're not rolling dice. You're playing cards and you're doing different things like that. So I really enjoyed the game, though. It was really fun. And it's still in my collection. It's right up there, just above Last Bastion. And it's a great game. So that's my number 6 game from 2011, Ultimate Warriors.
Fair.
With a Z.
My number 6 is the smallest game on this list, and I don't think you could get anything smaller than this.
Oh, I got you.
Maybe you could get something smaller than this.
I got you.
My number 6, I don't even know who made it. I didn't do too much research, or who designed it, or whatever else. I think it's been designed for 80,000 years. I don't know. This is a game called Skull. Have you played Skull?
Yes.
Skull
is the coaster game, right?
Coaster game. Yep, Skull's the coaster game. You have 4 coasters. One of them has a skull on the bottom of it, and you're trying to bluff your way into getting 2 points. And to get 2 points, you have to, on people's turns, they place one coaster face down, and it goes all the way around. And once everybody has a coaster, at any point after that, somebody can say that they can pull so many coasters without pulling a skull. And if they can do that, they get 1 point. If they don't do that, they lose one of their coasters randomly. So your coasters get smaller and smaller, and you don't know if they've now lost their skull, so they have no power left. It's just a really fun kind of bluffing, really easy, super fun.
It's not really.
Yes, it's super fun.
It's not.
Yep.
It's quite boring.
No, it's boring.
It's super
You're playing it with the wrong group and with not enough alcohol. That's what I say. But anyway.
Well, that's probably true.
That's probably true. But anyways, my number 6 is Skull.
Yep. People have talked a lot about this game, and I know a lot of people like it. It just...
That's a ridiculously
super
fun
boring.
game.
Super boring.
It's like Liar's Dice with coasters.
It's like Liar's Dice without the one thing that makes Liar's Dice fun.
What's that?
The dice.
Oh, I see. Well, fair. Well, if that's the only thing that makes it fun, then you are correct. All right. Well, that's our number 6. That's the last one on our Dice Tower video.
That is our bottom 5 from 2011.
Yes.
In just a couple days, you can come on over to the Flipside and see the top 5 games from 2011. So until then, we'll see you guys and gals on the flip side.
And the other side, we will see you on Monday.
That's right.